What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. I am DJ aka Black Guy. If you're here first time, that like button, subscribe button, truly appreciate it. Yeah, so we did my review of Halo 4, Halo Episode 4. Sorry, not Halo 4, Homecoming. Take a look at that. I'll put a link up here somewhere at the top for you guys to check it out. But yeah, we know after we do our reviews, we watch Halo Canon, get the Easter eggs and references and lore that we missed. So this guy he's one of the best in the business at breaking stuff down, especially with Halo. Make sure you check out his channel. So without further ado, let's watch some Halo Canon review and see what we missed. Here we go. I will say the last episode kind of is, I don't know. The show was really, I'm on a fence right now with it, so
welcome back.
Let's see what he has to say about it
for another episode breakdown of the Halo TV series. As usual, we'll be comparing the episode to the lore from the games, comics, and most other Halo media, which make up the core canon. Comparisons naturally do not equal criticism unless specified. And before we dive in, I'd like to highlight a couple of things that y'all pointed out about last week's episode. First, many of y'all had suggestions about what the ball game the Marines were playing might be, which included Boule, Bocce, and Petanque. Given the similarities between these games, the Marines may be playing any version of such games or perhaps even an evolution of them.
Yeah.
Second, Damian Isaacs pointed out how, in John's drawings, the artifact from Madrigal kinda looks like Africa. This might be a coincidence, but given that Africa is basically the birthplace of humanity, I definitely had to mention it. Lastly, it seems the Gallo-Do emancipation does exist in core canon, mentioned in Halo Silent Storm. Though here they were based out of Redstone 6 and glassed.
I read that one. That's my list to read.
Thank you to the Eld for pointing that one out.
I said I'm about to have surgery, so I'm a lot of good time to sit down and read some books.
Episode. And the first thing I want to discuss in this week's episode is the title, Homecoming. While fitting given that John is literally going home, there are some echoes of the Halo Legends anime short Homecoming as well.
Yeah,
in that animation short, Spartan Daisy 023 and a few other Spartan 2s break out of the training facility and return to their home.
That one was dark.
In the process, they discovered that they were replaced with clones, not unlike how Silver Timeline John is starting to discover the secrets.
I will say, if you haven't watched that, and whatever it's called,
we open
Halo
with the
Legends,
Spartans during their childhood training. During the scene, we find a young Soren 066, Riz 028, Kai 125, Vanek 134, and of course, John 117. Accompanying the young Spartans is Senior Chief Petty Officer Franklin Mendez, the trainer of both the Spartan 2s and 3s in core canon.
I didn't catch that.
Soren carries a Spartan 2 flag, which has the Silver Team Wolf insignia rather than anything from the core canon, which could mean that the Wolf insignia I've been ascribing to Silver Team is actually the Silver Timeline emblem for the Spartan 2 program. And as a small aside, in core canon, Spartan 2 logos often incorporated an eagle, similar to the eagle of the UNSC logo.
Makes sense.
The Silver Timeline has leaned more into a wolf-style emblem for the program, which remains fitting given that one of the Spartans' earliest lessons was on wolves.
Yep.
That is all for today. But tomorrow, I will tell you about wolves.
Anyway, the show then cuts to a young John being held after what we're told is another escape attempt. I immediately had flashbacks to Halo the Cole Protocol, which featured the members of Spartan Grey Team who often tried to escape from the program as kids.
Read that one.
And
Cole
not
Protocol.
a moment later, young John name drops Jai 066, one of Grey Team's members. A young Dr. Halsey soon joins, asking why John is trying to run away. He explains that Jai told him that the kids were forcibly brought into the program, and Halsey in turn tries to dissuade John from these subversive thoughts. We also learned that memory suppression seemingly began as soon as the Spartan conscripts were brought to Reach. One thing I haven't really dove into in much detail just yet is how different the Spartan 2 program and Dr. Halsey are from their core canon counterparts.
They are really different.
While the subject could be a video in and of itself, I'll try to keep things brief. In core canon, Dr. Halsey emphasized the need to be honest with her Spartans, that given everything the UNSC was about to do to them, any lie told to them would have disastrous consequences.
Exactly. That's why I said big difference between Halsey and the show
and the program even recommended, quote, selective neural paralysis, which produces a targeted amnesia. Sound familiar? It seems that in the Silver Timeline, Halsey decided that the risks for targeted amnesia and lies were worth it. Interestingly, the text from Halo: The Fall of Reach even directly mentions the idea of creating a lie about a Spartan conscript's parents being killed by a plague that devastated their home planet.
Oh, really? I
In that
gotta go back and
context,
read
the
that
Silver
too.
Timeline really starts to look like a Halo What If or Elseworld story. Back to the show, though, we jump to the present where John is aboard the Endymion
With no helmet
2
on, as
its
usual.
way to Eridnus 2. Over the ship's comms, we can briefly hear in the background, prepare for slipspace reconciliation. In core canon, reconciliation was an important aspect of slipspace travel, though one the UNSC was largely unaware of. To keep things simple, when traveling through slipspace, and technically traveling faster than light relative to normal space, chronological and causal paradoxes are a natural risk. The more slipspace activity there is, generally the greater the risks become. Luckily, spacetime can naturally heal itself in a process called reconciliation. In their time, the Forerunners had to actively track reconciliation debt, as too much travel could result in slipspace
that
becoming
level.
nearly inaccessible, which more or less happened late in the Forerunner Flood
Must have
War
died
as a
like
result
20
of
times in that game,
experiments
that
with the
level.
Halo rings. In core canon, humanity seems to be largely unaware of reconciliation, which is part of the reason why human slipspace travel could be so inconsistent. Halsey and her assistant discuss the artifact nearby, noting that the artifact might be guided by an intelligence, which might lead to a greater intelligence that Halsey is eager to meet.
The Forerunners.
This could be setting up for, or even just referencing, Mendicant Bias, arguably the most powerful and capable AI the Forerunners ever created. In core canon, he tried at one point to reach humanity, hoping to bring them to the Ark and begin the reclamation, though he
I think I
sadly
might watch
crash
Halo
landed
Legends
on the
tonight.
Prophet's homeworld of Janjir Quom. By the time of the Human Covenant War, a fragment of Mendicant would reside in the Forerunner keyship that rested at the center
He's
of
going
High
some
Charity.
deep stuff, man.
I wouldn't mind if Mendicant Bias had a more active role in the Silver Timeline. As the Chief stares out into slipspace, seemingly appreciating the beauty of it for the first time, Cortana drops in to do some explaining, though the Chief cuts her off much like Quan did to him back in episode 2.
Like I said,
If you think of space like a ball of yarn,
the whole Cortana thing,
You're ruining it.
she's growing on me. The design's a little different, but
Actually,
I'm not
the
mad
Forerunners
about
are
it now.
capable of perceiving
Her
substance.
voice is
What
amazing,
you think
so.
you are seeing is in fact a 10-dimensional Mobius navigation equation with evolving exit and mass-shadowed
you're
spacetime.
ruining it.
Dropping out of slipspace, we arrive at Eridanus 2, John's home
That's what it's called.
complete with Silver
Think of
Timeline
redness.
unique rings.
What's the redness thing?
Following the opening, we join Soren and Quan as they approach Madrigal City.
This
As they
storyline.
talk, we learn that, following his escape, it took Soren a year to remember that his father died, and another year to remember that he was the one who killed him.
Oh,
In core
man.
canon, Soren's early life wasn't all that great, moving to the outer colony of Dwarka at a young age, living with his mother and
I didn't read-
stepfather.
Did I
The
read-
stepfather owned an illegal farm, so
I think I
when
started
Soren's
Evolution,
mother
but never
came
finished
down
it. I
with
need
a
to find that
typically
one, too.
easy to
I got-
treat
I got-
illness,
I'm about to
the
go
father
shopping
was
this weekend.
reluctant to bring her into town for fear of being found out. By the time he decided to act, the mother was already dead. Blaming his stepfather for her death, Soren took a knife to the man's throat while he slept. While that didn't kill him in core canon, he was dead weeks later from the same illness that took Soren's mother. The show then makes a brief stop on Reach, where we find Kai
See,
125
the cups.
following the Chief's
the
example
cuts,
of
man.
removing her
They're
own
just all over the
backpack,
place.
before we're returned to Eridnus 2. On the surface, we find the remains of the colony, and once landed, John, Dr. Halsey, and Dr. Saley make for John's former home via Warthog. In a later scene, we can actually spot an AMG Transport Dynamics logo on the vehicle, AMG being the
Just
company
trying to see
behind
how
the
this
Warthog.
Warhawk drive, if they had
As
their
John
actual
takes in the
tires.
surroundings, we get a little visual
takes his helmet
reference to
off.
the E3 2018 reveal for Halo Infinite.
Yep.
Moving deeper into the forest,
I
Halsey
caught
tells
that.
us that only 6 of the Reach for Life projects made it past the early stages, further telling John that his parents were the leaders of the Eridnus 2 colony and heroes for making it work. We have very little information of John's core canon family, though, as
Yeah.
noted last time, Eridnus 2 was a well-established outer colony by the Spartan 2 program's beginning. Finding his childhood home, John is able to approximate the location of where his father did the burying.
Maybe if they had your helmet on, you can
routine
scan the
he
area.
used to dig.
Just saying.
Over on Madrigal, Soren and Quan arrive at Madrigal
It
City.
cuts back and forth. I didn't like
Inside, Venture takes a nice casual stroll through the streets, the people's fear of their new leader evident as he makes his way through the city. Despite being a city, I can't say this place looks significantly different from Quan's outpost.
Exactly.
As we learned from pre-release material, Madrigal City has also suffered from the Human Covenant War, with trade beyond the colony becoming more and more difficult as the war raged on.
That's what I don't understand. Like
Venture
they're
then climbs into a
they're
very
worried about this little
Halo-looking
rebellion, but
SUV
like
before
the
we cut
Covenant are
back
out
to
there.
Quan and Soren, who make their way into the market, where, among other things, we can spot a BR-55 and Marine helmet for sale. There's also a special edition Halo Xbox later,
Ha!
complete with Duke
Did not
controls.
catch that.
They quickly find
That's
a friend
funny.
of Quan's,
That's the Easter egg right here.
trying to find any information they can. Though fearful of the consequences, Atu does advise Quan to attend a service for her father being held that night before running off. Returning to Reach, we join Kai 125 as she's cleaning her sniper rifle. As she is, the color of the grease she's using catches her eye, and if you recall the trailers, you know what comes next. Later on, Silver Team are asked to join Miranda as
See,
she
that's a
tests
badass
to
scene
see
right
if
there.
they get the same reaction from the Forerunner relic.
That's what
as
I think
John.
when I think it was Spartan,
And
like
spoiler
full
alert,
armor.
They don't, so any theory I had about how Blessed Ones might work is basically down the toilet. Interestingly, when the Spartans enter, we can see that Vanek and Riz stand at attention, while Kai now stands with her hands at her sides,
Oh, yeah, 'cause
reflecting
it's
her
the
new
pellet.
attitude now that she's free of the pellet. Riz is called in first, followed by Vanek. It might be nothing, but I did notice that Vanek seems to keep a close eye on Miranda while he's being tested. After Vanek naturally comes Kai, though when they're switching out, she and Miranda exchange a few words, prompted by Kai's new hair color. Kai then asks if Miranda dislikes the Spartans, and when asked what gave her that impression, she calls it a hunch, which opens the door to a little extra exposition on Silver Team. Kai explains that she's been studying military strategy since age 6, which all Spartan 2s would, incidentally, name-dropping Admiral Preston J. Cole as she does. In core
Cole
canon,
Protocol.
Admiral Cole was quite the storied hero, but, long story short, he was a formerly disgraced vice admiral whose commission was reactivated when Harvest fell to the Covenant. The UNSC figured that sending a disgraced admiral would allow them to shift the blame should Cole fail. However, Cole, leading a massive fleet, fought
Yeah.
the Covenant back many a time.
Won the first, yeah.
though
He won the
often
first battle of
lost.
the Covenant.
Anyway, Kai continues, explaining that Riz can speak virtually every UEG language, and that Vonek's battlefield insight into plasma swords helped develop better marine armor. Some of this we actually saw indicated on the Halo the Series website, such as an after-action breakdown of Sangheili combat
might
techniques
need to
from
check that
Vonek
out.
134, or more recent updates talking about Riz 028 submitting a revised research paper to a science journal. Spartan 2s are highly educated and often brilliant minds.
Lieutenant?
In core canon, at least one of the washouts, Fajad 084, published a scientific paper on slipspace physics. The scene comes to a close as Kai places her hand on the Forerunner relic to no reaction, while informing Miranda that she needs to look a little deeper to understand the Spartans. The Spartans then depart the testing chamber, the camera slightly lingering on the motto, "Together we
Together we
prevail,"
prevail.
practically shouting that the divisions within humanity will keep it from prevailing. Back on Aridnus, John
Why is he
successfully
using the
unearths
shovel?
what his father buried, which naturally turns out to be the drawings. They're found in a sample container for the Reach for Life program, which has a large
It does.
RX-216 printed on it, a possible reference to the pilot from Halo Infinite, Echo 216.
Okay.
While Halsey wishes to analyze the drawings, John immediately heads for his childhood home. Inside, John begins looking around. Halsey, in the meantime, seems to be rather anxious. John then asks for Cortana's presence, asking if she can holographically recreate his home as it was when he was a child, which she's able to do by projecting it onto his HUD. Before the process
See?
starts,
He had the
however,
helmet back on.
Halsey
Thank
warns
God.
John that what
That's-
he
that's
sees could
Spartan
just
right
be a
there.
jumbled mess, that
Not everything you recall is reflective of real events.
Because he's worried
you
about the
can
memory
really
loss.
hear the fear in her voice. John begins looking around, during which we get brief shots inside his helmet, showing both his HUD and the outlines of his visor, which
That
I
looks
personally
cool,
found
man.
pretty cool. We also start getting flashes of John's memories as he explores. one of
See
which
his
reveals
face,
that
like
John
inside
was
his helmet
called
like that.
Johnny
I
as a
would I
kid.
would like that more.
At another point, we can see several more of John's drawings, hung near another piece of paper, this one containing an SOS simulation readout. Additionally, it seems that readouts like this are what the paper that John draws on is meant for, each of his drawings having the same circuitry on it. We also discover that John's dog in this series is named Ellie, likely named after Ellie Bloom from the core canon, a childhood friend of John's who first appeared in the old Halo 3 Starry Night trailer as a
I love that
child
trailer.
and appeared again later
Hunt
in
the
the Hunt the
Truth.
Truth audio
Yep.
drama.
That
John soon
Watch
reaches
that.
the edge of the simulation
If
as
you
he
love
heads for his
Halo, like,
childhood
that
room.
is a good one.
Cortana saying she can't recreate anything more due to severe damage.
their
to
audio
the
drama
structure.
that was so
Luckily,
good.
At least for John, his memories start flooding into his mind, seemingly brought to life before him, perhaps the result of his interactions with the Forerunner relic. As the memories continue, John sees himself as a boy wandering into a cordoned off area. This might be the functional edge of the colony, perhaps the edge of the area that was successfully terraformed, making the land beyond dangerous. It makes sense not to set up the solar farm on usable land.
Yeah.
As John wanders further, he comes across a non-natural cave formation containing the other Forerunner relic. We return to John's childhood home, where he suddenly
look at
hears
that.
the
He
slight
looks so
ringing
good in
of
the
a
suit.
coin.
We need more of that.
Like in Core Canon, we see the coin flipped, John grabbing it
Yeah.
out of the air, then claiming the result. Unfortunately, at least to me, the scene takes more inspiration from its Fall of Reach the animated series
Yeah.
counterpart rather than the version in the books. So, time for another tangent. In the book Halo the Fall of Reach, when establishing her Spartan program, Dr. Halsey and her team go to directly observe the candidates.
And they find
When
him
meeting
playing
with
King of the
John,
Hill, right?
Halsey tests him with a coin toss. She flips the coin, John grabbing it out of the air, calling the result, and proven correct. In the animated version of this scene, Halsey just flips the coin a lot and John keeps getting it right. The former version emphasizes John's skill and ability, while the latter just shows us that John is smart.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have an attachment to the original material, but I feel
agree.
that this watering down of the coin toss does do
It
real
was-
disservice to
It
John.
was very significant in the core.
The
Yeah.
show isn't quite as egregious as the animated series was, but it is still a lamentable change. Additionally, the coin was originally meant to be a simple quarter, a leftover of old Earth in essence, though this doesn't really bother me all that much. The back of the coin has the UNSC logo, while the front has the UNSC Navy logo. Along the edges, we can find the mottos, Together We Rise, Together We Prevail, and Today, Tomorrow, Forever. The memories come to an end, revealing Dr. Halsey meeting with a young John in his parents' home and asking that their meeting be kept secret. Outside, John reveals that he saw Halsey in his home with him as a child,
That's the problem.
and while
I
she
feel
attempts
like
to brush it off as
they're
memories
about the same
essentially
age,
lead
right?
you
I feel like
together,
Halsey
it
should be a
doesn't
little
seem
older
like
than
is
John.
buying it. Jumping back to Reach, we find ourselves in Miranda's wing, Covenant bodies and samples all around, including these jarred Legolo and this full frontal Sangheili body. In the background, we can spot a Type 51 Covenant carbine, a Type 25 plasma rifle, and a Type 33 Needler, complete with extracted needles. While traditionally pink, the needles here are much bluer, more in line with the Halo CE version of the Needler.
Yeah.
On nearby screens, we can additionally see a Type 25 plasma pistol. Later on, Kai picks up what might be a plasma grenade, which are bloody massive. Kai, now able to feel, first looks at the dead elite before grabbing another Needler, claiming the weapon as her favorite. As she basically geeks out about the weapon, she references the Needler's ability to track living targets and their explosive nature.
That's true.
Pull the trigger. Somehow they just know how to target living tissue. As soon as the needles hit the target, they super combine and bam.
Putting the Needler down, Riz then asks Kai about the Covenant name for Needler, which, given her own work with the Sangheili language, inspires Miranda to ask the Spartans to share any additional
Again,
Covenant
why
words they might know.
are they just not doing this?
Cutting back to Madrigal, we find ourselves at Jin Ha's memorial. I would
It's
guess
not
the practices depicted
this
here are
storyline I
based
don't
on
care
something
about
real,
honestly
but
anymore.
I'm fairly ignorant about funerary traditions in general, so if anyone knows, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Quan soon spots one of her father's generals, a woman named Agatha, and asks after the rest of her father's forces. As I'm sure y'all have guessed, Jin's generals are dead or in hiding, and the
They
rebellion
dead.
is finished. Quan gets upset, calling everyone present traitors to the cause, even
Ooh, excuse
accusing
me.
Agatha of selling out the rebellion, which might not be all that untrue, but we'll see, though Venture's security forces soon roll in. While others are beaten, Soren is more than able to protect Quan and get her out. Unfortunately, Soren
It's
soon
fine, yeah.
finds that
I
his
mean, no
ship
one
is being
get-
scrapped
yeah,
for parts
you're not
by
gonna-
Venture's goons.
I don't understand
Soren is
that. Like,
just about
you think
ready
no
to
one will
drop
find your
Quan's
ship?
quest and get his ship back, but Quan convinces him to stay as she decides to seek out her aunt, the
I'm
one who
not
controls the
liking
family money.
Quan anymore.
Meanwhile, Venture decides to add to the growing number of ass shots in the show.
Exactly.
with one of his own,
More
as he
butts.
calls in one of his goons, a woman named Franco, to eliminate Quan. Specifically, he wants her eliminated quietly and discreetly, avoiding any chance of making a martyr out of her. Arriving at her aunt's place, Quan and Soren are initially met with hostile force, though Soren is more than able to neutralize the threat.
Yeah, he's a freaking
Quan's
kill
aunt
machine.
then appears and invites everyone in to talk. While they do, Soren goes to see about his ship. Back on Reach, with the help of the Spartans, Miranda has been able to make some progress on the Sangheili language. And from there, much of the scene dives into the dynamic between Miranda and the Spartans. We learn that Halsey never really let Miranda near them, hence why she never thought to ask them about the Sangheili language.
don't like
and moreover,
how they did
that Miranda
Miranda in
always
this.
wondered why Halsey seemingly chose the Spartans over her own daughter. This eventually prompts some backstory on the Spartans, revealing that they were all given pets as children. While that initially sounds very heartwarming, we soon find out that these
Yeah, I
pets
know,
were
right?
part of
That
a
was
training
kinda dark.
exercise, and the losers would have to execute their pets. On the bright side, Vanek never lost, but he still didn't get to keep his pet, a pig named
Pig.
Ivan the Terrible. As he notes,
Spartans must be bonded to one another and nothing else.
moving once more
I like
over
his
to
voice, man. He got
Madrigal,
like a
Soren
deep
meets up with a
baritone
local
voice.
who informs him that his ship has already been torn apart for scrap,
Remind me,
name-dropping two
what's
colonies
the-
while he explains the
The
situation.
guy from the Green
Cedra
Mile,
and Carthage.
and
Cedra, some
I'm
may
forgetting
recognize, was an
people's
outer
name.
colony in the core
Yeah,
canon.
that's who
introduced in
reminds
the
me of
web
his voice.
series Halo Nightfall. Former Spartan 2 Randall 037 would eventually settle there with his daughter for a time. New Carthage is another colony from core canon, home to Hannibal weapon systems, whose work might be best recognized as the Hannibal vehicle variants from Halo
Ooh.
5. The company
Mantis.
and world also feature heavily in last year's Halo Point of Light.
I've not read that one.
Meanwhile, talking
I'm
things
about to
over
dive
with her
back into
aunt,
some Halo
Quan
canon,
discovers that her
not Halo
family
canon,
has
some,
no more
some
money,
lore
her
and books
father having spent it all during
tremendously.
the revolution.
You need to get back
And
into reading
that
more.
revolution was built on a lie. The aunt explains that before the war, Jin had met with a group of mystics in the Madrigal Desert. When he returned, he was changed, saying that freeing Madrigal was the only way for the Ha family's true purpose to be revealed. And calling it now, I think Quan is going to be a blessed one. No idea how that
think?
will all play out, but I have a feeling
Nah.
that these mystics and Jin Ha's
Nah.
mission are all tied to the Madrigal artifact.
I mean, yeah, the mystics.
Further,
what
I
about
took a
that?
look and I couldn't find any instance of Quan actually touching the artifact, so we don't know if she's actually a blessed one or not. Anyway, upon hearing all this, Quan decides to seek out these mystics, though they're quickly interrupted by Venture's assassin. Luckily for Quan at least, Soren soon appears and saves her, both escaping on a bike Soren took from his informant a little earlier. It's hard to tell for certain, but the bike looks like it has a stylized IMC logo on it, which would stand for Ibrium Machine Complex, a manufacturer of several Gen 2 variants of Mjolnir.
And I look kind of stretching
From there, the episode begins to wind down. Starting on Reach, Kai-125 and Miranda continue their deciphering of the Sangheili language, attempting to translate the message Maquis broadcast last episode. And
Is
it's
there
in this
like
moment
a-
that we get one of the
I know they have
trailer
like
lines.
the Klingon language, like
Sacred
been
ring.
completely translated. I wonder if they have like a dictionary of
Halo.
Sangheili name
with some
language.
Halo theme undertones. With this discovery not wanting to be locked out again, Miranda requests that Kai keep things secret, which she agrees to do, Kai noting that she and Miranda are basically sisters. Certainly a sentiment I've often seen shared among lore fans.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, on Aridness, the chief takes Halsey and Saley to the location.
Still, I
where
want to see that
Kay was
Warhawk
told
turn
before
because I
Lord
don't know how
Relic,
the true
finding it
Warhawk or
resting
not.
inside. When we first saw this object in the trailers, I theorized that it might be a Silver Timeline stand-in for the Sigma Octantis 4 artifact, one of two relics that would ultimately lead to Halo in core canon. If I'm right, it would be another clue hinting towards the show's second season actually featuring a Halo ring. But that
I
for
hope
now
season
brings
2
this
is
most
actually
recent
fighting on the
episode
Halo.
breakdown of Halo the series to a close. And what an episode it was! We finally got some answers regarding John's
was
memories.
alright.
We finally got to see the second artifact, and Kate Kennedy's Kai-125 was an absolute treat throughout.
I will say, yeah,
Kai in this
I
episode
like
is fairly
Kai's.
close to Spartan behavior in the books of core canon in a lot of ways. And I hope to see more of it and her interactions with both Spartans and non-Spartans.
I think
forward.
Kai 125
On
probably
the
my
flip
favorite
side,
right now.
Quan's story is really starting to get a little stale, at least to me.
Thank
It was
you.
great to see Soren
Thank
get some
you.
action scenes, but I can't say I'm terribly invested in the Madrigal stuff.
I'm glad I'm the only one.
Hopefully her story will
Everybody's
get
having
more
that
in soon, and
same
moreover, I hope we don't have to
sentiment
wait
with
too
it.
long to see more UNSC v Covenant action.
Exactly.
This is supposed to be set during the height of the Human Covenant War, and we've barely seen the war.
Exactly. I
That all
said
said,
that
I
in my
really did
review.
enjoy
I
this
need to
episode
see
overall.
more Covenant.
And naturally, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of the episode, and if I missed any Easter eggs or references, feel free to share them there too. For now, this has been Halo Canon, and I'll see you all next time.
I would say this guy. I mean, Halo Cannon. Who he is so good, and I would say he hit some points that I agree with. I agree the whole thing with Quan, that storyline. I don't care about it no more. I don't care about it no more. I agree. I think Kai is probably my favorite person I want to know more about in this whole show. And we gotta see more Covenant. We have to see more Covenant in this show. But yeah, the one Easter egg that I didn't catch, I thought was interesting, was the Xbox. That was really cool. I didn't catch it back when I'm gonna go back and rewatch it again. I used to watch it again the night before the new episode comes on to kind of get a recap and everything. But I'm gonna see if I catch it this time. But that was pretty cool. Yeah. Make sure you check out Halo Canon. He has good breakdown stuff. All his other content, but beyond this show is amazing. If you're a Halo fan or you want to just dive more into the lore of Halo, check out his channel. Till next time, guys. I'll see you when I see you. Peace.